Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Freaky Fridays with Sonia. I am Sonia, and if you are intrigued by the enigmatic, strange, dark, mysterious, paranormal, real life happenings from all around the world, then you've come to the right place, because that's what I do. I upload a freaky real life happening every Friday. So if that's of interest to you, please don't forget to subscribe and support the channel. It would mean everything to me. If you do like today's video, don't forget to leave it a thumbs up. Also, I'd love to read your thoughts on this case. So please feel free to leave your comments in the comment section below. Before I begin with today's case, I'd like to give my usual disclaimer. I mean absolutely no disrespect to anyone that I talk about in today's video. All of this is just information that I have found on the internet, and I have compiled in a story format for the purpose of this video. Also, if this kind of content is triggering or is unsuitable to you in any manner, please do not subscribe to the channel. I completely understand. Prioritizing oneself is of utmost importance. All of my social media handles will be linked below. My username is soniahaeems on Instagram, on Facebook, so you can find me there where I do more fun stuff. Having said all that, let's dive right into today's video. In January 2015, 27-year-old Texas resident whose name is George Pickering III suddenly had a massive stroke, and he had to be rushed to the hospital, and his family rushed him to Tomball Regional Medical Center in Houston. He was immediately put on life support, and he was in a critical condition. His family was, of course, very worried and very concerned about him, and he was on life support for quite a few days, and he was being monitored by the team of doctors. A couple of days into his admission, the doctors at the medical center called his family, and they had a horrible talk with them where they had to, break the horrible news to his family that George was brain dead and there was no hope for him. So the only thing that seemed to make sense and which was rational at that moment was to take him off of life support. They also told his family that they could, with their consent, put him on an organ donor list. So all of his organs would be used for the treatment of patients who needed organs at that particular point. Now his family was devastated and they didn't know what to do, how to react, especially George's father. He was so upset that he just left the hospital and he stormed out, and he didn't come back for several hours. In the meanwhile, George's mother, along with his brothers, they were constantly talking to doctors. Doctors kept telling them, there is no other option, there is no hope for him. So this is the only way out. After talking about it for a while, they finally decided, maybe this is the best option. They agreed and they signed for George to be taken off of life support, for his name to be put on the organ donor list. They actually started preparing for his last rites and his funeral. George's father came back to the hospital, and then he was informed about this development. And he was furious. He was infuriated. I mean, he told his wife and his other sons, like, why did you do this? Why did you agree to this? He could not believe that there was no hope. So he rushed straight to where all the doctors were, and he kind of told them off, and he said, absolutely not. You are not taking my son off of life support. Doctors told George's father that you're actually jeopardizing the health of other and the lives of other patients who could benefit by using his organs, and you could be saving those lives. But George's father would have nothing of it. He said absolutely not. And they said, but your family is already signed. George's father went straight to George's room, where he kind of fell over his son, and he lay over George, and he held his hand and he cried, and he's begging and he's praying and he's saying, give me a sign that it's not over. Give me a sign that you're going to be okay. Give me a sign that there's going to be hope, and all of this will just pass. But then there was nothing. A while later, the doctors started trickling into the room in order to start the process of getting George off of life support. When George's father saw this, he just snapped. He leaves the room, he runs out of the room, he runs out of the hospital, he runs straight to his car where he takes out his gun and he comes running back through the hospital into the room and he points it at the doctors and he's like, stop what you're doing. Don't you dare take my son off of life support. Get away from him. And the doctors are like, okay. And he's like, I'll shoot. He said, I'll shoot all of you if you dare take him off of life support. And he said, get out of the room, all of you. So they all left the room and George's father proceeded to lock the room. And then for the next several hours, George's father stayed with him, his body laid over his son, holding his hand and with the barrel of the gun pointed at the door, screaming to everyone, if you come in, I'm going to shoot you and kill you. Don't you dare come in. All this while, with the barrel of the gun pointed at the door, he's crying and he's pleading and he's praying and he's begging and he's holding his son's hand and saying, show me a sign, don't give up, don't let this be, don't let it end this way. This went on for several hours, okay? There's this kind of a standoff situation. Obviously, the hospital authorities called the police and a SWAT team was called in, especially to handle the situation. The SWAT team comes in, the police come in, and the SWAT team, they have their guns, right? So they've surrounded the room and they are yelling at George's father, put your weapon down and we're going to come in. And he's screaming and he's saying, if you come in, I'm going to shoot, I'm going to kill each and every one of you. So there's this major standoff happening. All this while he's got his hand clutched onto George's hand and he's saying, give me a sign, there's not much time. He's praying out loud. The SWAT team told him, we're kicking this door in, we're breaking the lock and we're entering. And as on the count of 3 they broke in and they entered the room, George clutched his father's hand back. And his father realized that. The SWAT team has entered and he dropped his weapon and he said, I surrender. So now he's on the floor. The SWAT team is around him. They've handcuffed him and they've got their guns drawn at him. But he's not bothered. He's screaming to the doctors, my son is okay. Come in. He showed me a sign. He just squeezed my hand. Please come in. Check him. He's not bothered. They have detained him. They've got guns all around him. He doesn't care. He's screaming, my son is going to be okay. Come in. Please come in and check him. The team of doctors came in and as miraculous as this may sound, George had opened his eyes. There was movement in his hands and fingers. He was able to move his head. A few days or weeks into his treatment, he made a full recovery and went on to live a normal life thereafter. Later on, George was told that if his father had not created this whole ruckus and bought him that time of those several hours, he would have probably died because they would have pulled out the life support. As for George's father, he was sentenced to 10 months in prison for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He served his time, but he and his entire family feel that it was completely worth it because his family is together and his son George is alive and well. So that's all I have for you today, guys. I hope you liked this story. If you do want to leave your thoughts and your comments, please feel free to do so in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like this kind of content, do subscribe. And until I see you next Friday with another intriguing, freaky case, please go ahead and take good care of yourselves. Stay healthy and bye-bye.